Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to our panel discussion on role of generative AI and data science in the education sector. I'm delighted to have with us today two distinguished experts, Mr. Aarsh Srivastava and Ujjyaini Mitra ma'am. Would you like to introduce yourselves, both of you, for the benefit of our viewers?
Arsh, you want to go first?
Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you for that. So, hi, I'm Aarsh Srivastava. I'm co-founder of Gravitas AI, based out of UK, and I've been working into artificial intelligence industry for last decade. And education is a very like important sector where a lot of applications can be done. So, we'll be discussing today a bit about that, like how we can utilize generative AI and data science and other aspects of the use cases through which we can like leverage the power of this kind of technology to get more insights, more nice solutions which can help in seamlessly resolving challenges in this sector. So yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir, for the wonderful introduction. Yeah, now we can go ahead with you, ma'am.
Thank you for calling me in this panel discussion. Quick introduction: I have around 17 years of experience, and I have started Setu for around 18 months back. It's a baby, I would say, but we are doing already some great, interesting works. When I was actually working, I was hiring a lot of talents, establishing a large center of excellence, but I found a couple of very important gaps in the talent. One is when people come at a very junior level. At a college, the learning is very spoon feeding kind of knowledge, and therefore it's very theoretical. And people don't necessarily learn how to apply what they have learned. And that's a very big gap. So it requires the organization always requires to tell people what to do instead of hiring intelligent people. Like my thing is, if I'm hiring intelligent people, why do I have to tell what to do? They should be able to break down the problem statements into smaller steps and should be able to do it. So that's one thing. And the second one is at a mid management to senior management level. As soon as people cross around 8 years of their experience, I have seen they become people manager. They actually, other than few experts who stay in the domain and stay hands on, but most people today become people manager and they are not hands on anymore. What happens is every time there is a new revolution of technology happens, like now, you already are hearing a lot of bloodbath happening, that many top leaders are actually asked to go because their wisdom has become irrelevant in the new technology domain. And challenge is they even find it very difficult to upskill and reskill themselves. That is purely because they don't learn hands on. So that is another thing. We also do executive training, and anything we do starting from the junior level till the top executive people, even 18, 20 years of experience. Currently, we are training partners and senior partners of one of the big four companies. And even then, 50 to 60% of our training is hands on. It's like going back to the school, and they absolutely enjoy it. So these are the two big gaps that I wanted to fill up, and that's how the name Setu has come. We are trying to bridge any gap which is there between where a person is and where the person want to accomplish.
What a lovely introduction, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you from behalf of all our audiences. And now let's delve into an exciting panel discussion with our esteemed panelists. So, starting with you, ma'am, please share your thoughts on how might generative AI support admission teams in personalizing outreach to prospective students.
Good question. That's probably come at the very start of the funnel of any learning or any education organizations, that you have to first reach out. And also, it's important that what a person, so most places, the pitch is what we offer, and the pitch is not what the students needs, right? So, and it seemed like a product. If the product is the supplier centric, what I want to supply, without caring what my customer wants, the product is never a successful. So the same way, when you are pitching, if you just talk about what the institute great about is not good enough. It's important to understand the personas of the students coming in, what are their aspirations, and how what you are offering can be tailored for their aspirations and expectations. So in the generative AI, there is a beautiful use case which is called style transfer, or and particularly that is used in the GAN technology when it is generative adversarial network. What you can do is actually, if you can explain the student persona, say all the previous students and the batches that they have joined, either sometimes it is the student particularly at a elder stage, and if it's a much more younger level, it is also the persona of the parents, because at that stage the students don't decide, the parents decide for the students. So if we can do a very beautiful persona understanding, and then we can create gamification for the new people who are coming to understand their persona, match with that, and generate the pitch which is matching to that persona, so that it will be more personalized, transferring the style. So you can imagine, like, today when the students or the parents are talking to the counselor is one person just saying the same thing to everyone. Instead of that, if you could have actually created a GenAI screen which will ask questions, understand you better, and then talk about what this college has to offer for your aspiration, for you kind of persona, that is something would have been a very beautiful step. So before even going to the counselor, this could be one of the app given at the hand of the students or the parents to converse, and converse in a better way through the GenAI use cases.
So that's like really great and like a very important aspect which Ujjyaini has highlighted, and also I like to add that the other side, the student side, if you see, so there's a lot of like use of generative AI being done in the current scenario, and the applications, and at the there's a possibility of them like being written through generative AI as well. So everything is getting machine driven from one end. The input is coming in as a machine driven input, but how, like, that is why how Jenny's point is very important, because we have to understand that the machine driven input which is coming to the college has to be realized through a machine, because the kind of like differentiation we need to make to understand different capabilities, because ultimately when everyone is using Gen AI to write up applications or do some write ups, etc., there will be a bit of commonality coming into that aspect as well, because the kind of type of prompts you use for a particular solution or writing up something will not vary a lot, because the kind of profiles which are coming in might be similar. So understanding and differentiating that how it has been written, and whether it has been written through machine, or which parameters we should consider to evaluate that, that is very important. So that's a very important aspect, because we have to move with the technology as we start progressing, and we have been doing as a society, we have been doing that since long, but there's a evolution required, not from the receiving end but also from the other end as well.
Absolutely. So I think, and recently I heard this point that one of my colleagues' son actually applied to one of the university in US, and he
Mhm.
generated it through one of the GenAI platform, and it was rejected, right? And it was asked that no, we are not judging how well is your prompt. We are judging, your understanding and your aspirations. So you have to
Correct.
write the essay yourself. So once again, the kid wrote it once again and then has been accepted. So which is great. But then at the same time, if the other side is also true, like instead of asking, following the same old processes,
Mm.
if they could have given a
Yeah.
screen which is more conversing with the
Mm.
student
Mhm.
real time, and actually understanding, asking the student a question and allowing the person to answer and real time judge the person's capability. And that is possible because today in GenAI it's absolutely possible, because
Mm.
GenAI can hold conversation almost like human.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your expertise, ma'am and sir. I truly appreciate the valuable insights that you both have shared. Now let's shift our focus to another important aspect. So, ma'am, how soon, according to you, an educational institute expect to see tangible ROI from Gen AI product?
See, one of the best part of Gen AI is the go-to-market time has reduced drastically. Earlier, if we have to create a similar kind of product using traditional AI method, it anywhere used to take 3 to 6 months kind of time. But today, within 6 to 8 weeks time, you can actually launch a product in the market because of the many pre-trained model that is there, and Gen AI itself learns much faster than the traditional AI mechanisms, right? So with that, I think it is more important to first do a design thinking. Instead of just jumping and building some AI products, do a design thinking strategy to see that where all I want to integrate a Gen AI products and how it will work and what it should do, and then going and creating, figuring out which are my probably a immediate success, and figuring out the prioritizations and start building it. We never say, see, in Gen AI one of the biggest challenge is the accuracy, right? So we never say, if they expect that okay, I will create something which will start generating 100% accurate results. No, Gen AI also needs to be trained over time, so it matures over time. So it has to have some starting point. So if we can prioritize that these are more mature use cases, so let's go to market fast, and these are use cases where we need to train the system better, and then those can be trained parallelly side by side. I think if there is a proper structure, then institutes can start gaining ROI as soon as like 6 months time. Earlier I used to say that anywhere between 8 to 12 months is the minimum time before which you don't garner ROI. But today it is like within 6 months, institutes can start garnering ROI if they do it properly.
Yep, I can relate to this, and like this is a shared experience which I like to share. That the annotations which are done and now in the backend, and it's the result is being produced in a minute or a second, basically. So 5 years before, like we were working on very like a niche project regarding healthcare, and there we worked on annotations. It was a thousand pages document, etc. There were different documents, and we had to annotate all. And it took us about like a good 5 6 months, good number of resources to get it in the place where we wanted. The same thing which we want to produce now, if you know the use case, can be produced very fast. So that is the computing power. That is the like kind of technology evolution which has happened in the last few years, and from here on it will be more aggressive and more fast, because now the how we have progressed further into neural networks and got into LLM models, there will be further advancements, and this will exponentially rise the computing power and the response power as well. And it will be all these models are now being built with a lot of like understanding of how humans mimic, how humans interpret things, etc. So that impact which you used to do, like impact assessment which you used to do like 5 years before, 6 years before, while building a chatbot, to understand how we can put a bit of human touch into that, so that has become a bit more easier now. So definitely there's like a lot of opportunity out there, and faster ROI use cases can be done, definitely.
Also, cost has reduced drastically.
Yes,
One is
yes.
time, cost and effort, that has also reduced drastically, which means the percentage ROI is far higher
Mm.
from this. But one thing, I will always put a caution here that people have to wear the hat of doing a lot of experimentation through POCs, because now POCs are much faster. And if companies always expect a full blown high accuracy model and then only going to market, that time has gone. You have to quickly build the POC, launch in the market, because only through the human feedback it will become more and more mature. So you should not wait before you launch it, even though it is not well accurate all the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your enlightening perspective on this topic. And also, I also believe that with design thinking, education institutes can anticipate notable returns. Now, let's pivot to our next question. Are there any specific areas where data science have yet to make a significant impact but have great potential to do so in the future?
Great question. See, what I think is, and this is probably once again through more experience. And if I go a little bit of the level where 7, 8 standard onwards, okay, until the time they get their first job. So at a metro cities, where you are going to the very top-notch colleges, you have a lot of exposure there, lot of opportunities coming there. But the moment you go to a little bit tier 2 level colleges or the tier 2 town and tier 3 town levels, like the smaller places, the opportunities are not as much and the exposures are not as good. And also, if I talk from an Indian perspective, the students come from the vernacular languages, and that makes a even more challenging for them to score well in the campus interviews because they lose their confidence. I think, throughout the process, if we can bring Gen AI, which will become the student's buddy, help them prepare at every stage, help them self assess where they are, and be able to show them the path. Because I have seen, as soon as the students come to that adolescent stage, they somehow feel shy to ask questions. And the moment they stop asking questions, their learning is not as good. And also, maybe, teacher student ratio may not be always as good to be able to care each and every students. So somewhere I think, if we can give this kind of products to the students, which will become their buddy, help them ask question without even thinking whether people will like my question, is it a stupid question or not, but more in the individual space, and then help them prepare and make them become better and better every day. I think that would be a fabulous one. So in Setu, we are, building one such product for currently for the college students, for them to be able to prepare for the campus interviews, and that we are trying to give them from second year onwards, so that they can self evaluate how they are learning each and every topic that they are learning. And before campus interview, they will be much more confident to crack it, and they will be able to crack it with, much faster.
Right. Yep. And apart from that, on the other side, if you see on the colleges side, so also there's a lot of opportunity in the, like working out the curriculums, understanding how to grade effectively based on the inputs we're receiving from these apps, the responses people are generating, the submissions they are doing, and the other behavioral aspects. So we can work on that. And also, there is a lot of opportunity in terms of like optimizing the resource allocations inside the colleges to understand, because once you have an understanding and segmentation, proper segmentation of like the type of inputs which are coming, start allocating your resources accordingly in the admissions department and like further departments, next departments as well. So yeah, these are like very important ones. Plus designing policies. Then once you are done with all of this, then you'll need policies which will need to change, and those policies will have to like supplement and also support the way things will be operating in future. So you have to also start looking into like designing policies, and you can take help from Gen AI regarding that, because ultimately the power which we're utilizing for optimizing the productivity can also be used to like understand more about what the requirements of the policy building, etc. What are the risks? What are the dependencies? Because until if we start working out as a project, it might take us humans to do a little in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months time, but we can get faster output from Gen AI to understand at least the predictors of the variables which need to be utilized to make those policies. Yeah, so definitely like there's a lot of opportunity, even pragmatic learning concepts. So that is also a very big use case also, which can be used.
Thank you so much for your insightful perspective, sir and ma'am. And today I got to know the importance of asking questions. That why my parents and professors always emphasized on me to ask more and more questions. So yes, now moving to our next question: what are some promising use cases of generative AI, and that how could significantly impact the education sector?
So if I have to say that, I think one, if I have to pick one, then I think the most important one for me will be to, in the current scenario, will be to analyze and evaluate the machine generated content for admission processes by colleges, and like then responding back and trying to develop models which can evaluate them better and classify them better and segment them better. So with the current scenario what's going on, I think this is the most important use case which I can think of. But yeah, there are multiple others we have talked already about, like different other optimization of resources. Then she has talked about like how the apps can be used to better prepare students. So there are multiple use cases definitely, but one which I think is very important because the operations have already started in that way. The input has started coming in. We have to cater to the output.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we already have spoken about it. I find that you during the learning journey, if we can integrate Gen AI more and more and make people more confident and slowly move out of the spoon feeding kind of teaching mechanism and move to a more experiential learning. Because I always believe that if I can help a student to ask right question, then they can always figure out how to reach to the solution. And I have always seen that the young minds are so vibrant that only if you can help them to ask the right question, then rest of the things will be taken care. Instead, in the current education, it's always taught like a monologue. The teacher comes with a prepared set of curriculum and they are teaching it. So it's always a typical boxing of the learning. But I think, if we can allow students to ask, debate, and that's how, if the learning propagation happens, I think that would help people to think bigger than what they just learn. So somewhere thinking capability has to be impacted, and I believe Gen AI can do that.
That's really like correct, and like cognitive innovation is the most important innovation which has to be cleared, and it is omnipresent. We don't realize it's there, and that creates a lot of bias and also like hinders us from getting a lot of opportunity. So like moving in that direction will be really superb.
Yeah. So, as we conclude our discussion, I would like to pose a forward looking question. Where can data science take education in the next decade?
I think the opportunities are immense. We talked about certain use cases, but you have to look at from like a different stakeholder perspective, in my understanding. And we have to analyze and understand, as she mentioned about the design thinking process. So, like keeping all stakeholders at the center of the design, and understanding the users' behavior, what they need, their needs, what they want to do, when they want to do, how they want to do, and then start streamlining it in terms of like more drill down bits, and trying to predict and trying to come up with the right kind of like variables which needs to be evaluated for each and every stakeholder, and how those variables match with each other stakeholder with a variable matrix. So that kind of a solution vision of a solution will definitely be very useful there, because then we'll be able to not only identify the individual needs of different types of stakeholder roles, but also cross variable match and create a matrix which is very interrelatable and is supporting each other's like needs.
I would share a story with you here. So there is something. So I mean, one thing I believe that the number of students are always increasing, and getting the quality instructors are becoming equally difficult in the current stage, right? And if you look at the practitioners who are actually practicing the current technology, they don't necessarily want to teach, because somehow people think that those who will be teaching who actually are not getting job in the corporate or not practicing. So somehow there is a challenge. And if the practitioners don't teach, then the next stage, next level students, they will never get that practitioner's outlook and not be able to perform the jobs in the corporate. So if I have to solve that, then I will talk about a story. So there was an experiment called Hole on the Wall, and this was happened in Delhi. Okay, there is a very high, top level educationist who did it. He said that actually to teach students, you don't need a teacher. What you need is to provide the right tools at the hand of the learners, okay, which will create inquisitiveness, and that's all is the end of what a right teacher does. So he created a hole on the wall and put a monitor of a desktop and just kept the the keyboard in front of them, and he placed it in a slum. And all the kids came and they just themselves figured out how to switch on this desktop, what they can do. And what he provided was internet and Google search. That's all he provided there. And then he measured, like, what is the IQ level or the level of understanding of this slums people. And then, after a year, he again measured it. He realized, like, these people have excelled at a level without any teacher, nothing, just this one desktop and internet. So now you imagine, we not only have desktop and internet, we also have generative AI. So the level of impact that we can do, and it is immense. I think the next level of education is at a very, very good level if we can really do it.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your excellent articulation in explaining these use cases of generative AI in the future and in the coming decade. So that's it for the day. And thank you, Jenny, ma'am, and also for joining us today and making this discussion exciting.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye.
I would also like to thank our viewers for joining us today. Stay tuned for upcoming interesting live sessions. Thank you.